All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Bloomington Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Our first item this evening is the roll call. Myra, can you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Beloga.
Aye.
Present.
Here, yes. I told you it's that kind of day, didn't I?
Commissioner Hukim.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Commissioner Thorson.
Here.
Everyone is present and there is a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, which is the approval of the agenda. Are there any questions or additions to the agenda that anyone has? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the June 22nd, 2021 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right. It's been moved by Commissioner Thorson, seconded by Commissioner Beloga to approve the agenda. May I have the roll call vote, please?
Beloga.
Aye.
Hukim.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to number 3 on our agenda, approval of the minutes of June 8th, 2021 HRA Commission meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of June 8th, 2021?
So moved.
Was that Commissioner Beloga or?
Was.
All right. Second, was that Commissioner Hukim?
Yes.
All right, so it has been moved by Commissioner Beloga, seconded by Commissioner Hukim, that we approve the minutes of June 8th, 2021. Myra, can you take the roll call vote, please?
Beloga.
Aye.
Hukim.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Now moving on to organizational business, item 4.1, the 2020 HRA Commission in-person meeting update. May we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. I just wanted to provide a brief update. There on June 14th was an extension to the executive order by the governor, and it was not denied, or it didn't go through the process to be not approved by both chambers of the legislature. So it is standing. However, there is an agreement that has not been completely approved as far as going through the legislative bodies that has been said to have an agreement for the eviction ramp down, which has been one of the primary focuses of extending the executive order. The executive order is set to expire July 14th, but with the agreement that has been agreed upon but not fully approved, it is expected or estimated that the executive order will not last through July 14th. Thereby, our next meeting, which would be Tuesday, July 13th, will most likely be in person. And that will be in person for commissioners and looking into the opportunity for guests and the public to still be able to tune in. We'll have to work on that, and I can update you on that once I get more information from IT. Secondly, as it was communicated before, there is an expectation that once the executive order ends and there is a return to in-person meetings, that there is an up to 60-day time frame from the date that the executive order ends, that if there is a need for a commissioner to meet at another location or be hybrid in terms of being virtual, it will need to be noticed properly, and it will have to be approved through a medical necessity. So it'll have to provide a doctor's note, as well as there are only up to 3 of those types of meetings that can happen within that 60-day time frame. So that still stands as that was communicated before. And if you have any questions, we did put in Carla Peterson, the HRA General Counsel's information, as well as my information regarding that. So I just wanted to give you an update about that, but expect to be in person, most likely July 13th for our next meeting. And I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for Administrator Coleman? Hearing none, and as this was just an information discussion only item, I'm going to move on to old business, and it's going to be now item 5.1, home ownership options for HRA owned lots. May we have the staff report, please?
Good evening, Commissioners. Brian Hartman, HRA Program Manager. Tonight we have an item brought back to you. At a previous HRA Commission meeting, we had presented an item to price the lot that the HRA owns at 9030 Park Avenue South at $120,000. After discussion with the Commissioner, staff was directed to bring back additional options for the use of this lot or the sale of this lot. And we have provided tonight a chart of different affordable housing developers and options for this lot. And we'll walk through that with you. First on the list is Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. As most of the commissioners know, I'm sure we've had a long 20 or plus year relationship with Twin Cities Habitat and have sold them several lots over the years to develop single and double homes for sale to low, moderate income families and first-time home buyers. They ensure long-term affordability of these homes by placing covenants on the property, and so the resale has to be to another lower moderate income family. At recent tally, we've done about 17 projects with Habitat over the long-term association with the HRA. Typically, we sell the property at a reduced cost. Somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000 has kind of been the typical sale price to Habitat. And so the HRA does assist the project by writing down the cost of the land. The most recent one that I'm sure you remember is the house that was constructed on the northwest corner of Xerxes and Old Shakopee Road. So that was completed last year. The other option we've presented tonight is the West Hennepin Affordable Housing Land Trust, WALT. They do business as Homes Within Reach, or HWR. And their model is to acquire existing homes on the private market and do whatever rehab is necessary to the home, and then resell the home only, not including the land, only the home itself, to a low moderate income first-time home buyer. The reduction in not including the land helps reduce the price. They also do receive grants from other entities such as Hennepin County, HUD, et cetera, to write down the purchase price of that home to make it affordable. Since they retain ownership of the land, that ensures long-term affordability. They have a 99-year lease on the land. So it's a very long-term affordability period, probably the largest of any out there at present. We've been working with them for about 5 years, and we contribute through the CDBG program $75,000 per project. And we've done about 7 homes in total. Next on our list is Project for Pride of Living. They are, again, another nonprofit affordable housing developer and service provider. They work with low and moderate income families. They do a variety of things across the metro, primarily focused in Minneapolis, but they have been expanding into the suburbs. The project we did most recently with them, we've only done one. It was back in 2005. This was at 102nd and Nicollet, where we had acquired several substandard single-family homes, which we removed and created a cul-de-sac, and were able to develop 7 brand new homes for first-time homebuyers with a partnership with PPL and also Hennepin County. There's a second mortgage on the houses to help buy down the purchase price, and they were sold through a lottery system because there was such demand at that time. And the last opportunity we have put out here is a request for proposal idea. This would be where the HRA would develop criteria for the sale of a lot and solicit proposals from nonprofit and for-profit developers that would meet the criteria that we define. And this could be such as serving low and moderate income home buyer, ensuring long-term affordability, and any other details that the HRA would like to include in that RFP process. And of course, the option not listed here is the original one, where we would price the lot and resell it to a builder and or a home buyer to build a single family home to occupy on that property. So at this point, we'll stand for questions and provide any other information that you might desire.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hartman? We have a very quiet group tonight.
Madam Chair.
Oh, Commissioner Beloga. Yeah, I can't see everybody's face, so just yell out. Commissioner
Thank you.
Beloga.
Good evening, Brian. Thanks for the work you've done here. One of the discussions that we had was establishing our own affordable housing land trust. And I see that's not one of the options that's been investigated. Can you tell me what caused that to be discarded?
One of the ideas that we came up with regarding that was exploring our current relationship with the land trust that we are presently working with to see if they would be willing to enter into a new construction model. The prior executive director at Homes Within Reach was not open to that idea, but there has been a change in leadership after her retirement. And we would think that that would be a good way to explore that option without having to set up the administrative and other things that would be necessary to set that up as a separate activity of the HRA.
Okay, that's good information. Thank you, because that's not what I read into what the report says. So appreciate the update.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Hartman? Hearing none, this was also just an information only item. So we will move on to new business. And
Madam Chair, just one more
Yes.
thing. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. We are looking for a little direction here to whether we would like to continue exploring other options or whether it'd be the will of the commission to price and list the lot for sale.
Okay, commissioners, what are your feelings? Because
If the direction is to price the lot, then we would bring it back at a future meeting to do that formally.
okay, all right. Is there?
Madam Chair.
Chair Lewis.
Yes, first Commissioner Beloga and then Commissioner Thorson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, with the information of Hennepin County, West Hennepin Affordable Land Trust, I would, my preference would be is to continue to work with them. One of the items that I would like to see altered is our contribution to building. You know, to in addition to the land being contributed, I'm finding it a bit expensive to add a buy down to the program, if I can use that term. I'm struggling for a name, but assuming that we can, you know, do more than one a year, that may make it not affordable because we'd be talking about a couple $100,000 a year. So with that framework, that would be my preference.
Okay. Commissioner Thorson.
Actually, my question has been answered.
Okay. All right. Is there direction for Mr. Hartman? Do we want something to come back to us to look at this again, since we still have that property?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hukim.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say that I agree with Commissioner Beloga with the Hennepin County Land Trust. And I also agree with if we could maybe work something out with that buy down, as he called it. So maybe looking into that and bringing some more information back on that one. I really lead more towards something where we can work with like a land trust to keep this affordable and keep it
Right.
affordable as long as possible. So,
All right.
thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments from any of the other commissioners? Because
Chair Lewis,
yes, Commissioner Thorson.
a question for Brian. I would imagine that by listing the lot traditionally and getting it out there as an option to sell it outright doesn't preclude us from working with any of our other partners. So some of these might be longer term issues to work out, but if the lot is listed, this board always has the option of approving or not approving, or even directing what kind of home or what kind of partnership is involved in this. So is there any reason not to list it as one of our options, but continue to pursue partnership as well?
Mr. Hartman?
We certainly could do that. One concern I would have is if we list the lot, what we're saying is that we are ready to sell it. And I would not want to present an option to somebody and then pull it back because we have decided to do something else. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that the commission is comfortable with listing the lot for sale, and that if an adequate offer is presented, that it would be accepted.
Good point. Thank you.
Chair
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
thank you. I finally decided I should unmute myself. I want to point out, my recollection is that when we had this discussion, and it's leading to this discussion, is that we want to strategize as an HRA how we can help preserve affordable housing that goes on the market for those who are needing some kind of financial assistance to do so. And so I think in terms of responding to this particular one, I don't want to lose sight of our desire. I believe it was our pretty universal desire to strategize into the future beyond just this one. So I agree with what Jack Beloga and others have indicated in terms of the specific question, but somehow or another we need to keep this on our plate until we
Yes.
come up with our own trust or something like that, please.
All right. What I'm hearing tonight then, do we want to move to as far as the sale of the property that really instigated this item? Do we want to move that we wait to put that on the market until Mr. Hartman has had more time to look at, you know, establishing a land trust or working with Walt?
Chair Lewis?
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. I would be inclined to suggest we wait until we explore the possibilities for this one.
Okay.
I don't know if there's reasons that people would bring forward about why it's important to move rather quickly. And so I would make a motion, but would need some direction from Mr. Hartman as to how long a time he would need to do that.
Okay, Mr. Hartman.
Sure. Just to clarify, what I think I'm hearing is that you're asking staff to reach out to homes within reach to explore the possibility of partnering with them and or establishing an HRA land trust. And we certainly can do that and bring back that more detailed information about what the land trust could or could not do with us and what that would look like for establishing one within the city.
Yes, if that can be put into a motion, I would like to do that. How much time would you need?
I don't know if we necessarily need a motion because we're not listing the property. So we'll come back to you, I would say by the end of July.
All right, so just bringing back more information to the board. Okay, is that, are the commissioners comfortable with that? I think if Mr. Hartman thinks that will work, I'm comfortable with it. Hearing nothing to the negative, then that would be what we'd want to do with this item. So Mr. Hartman, if you could look into that and then bring it back in July, that'd be great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now we will move on to our new business, and our first item of business is 6.1, and that is the HRA 2020 audit presentation. I'm going to turn this over to Administrator Coleman. I understand that Mr. Eichten is here to do the report.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So, well, I'm just going to turn it over to you then. If you would like to give basically your report.
Sure, I will do that. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Jim Eichten. I'm with the MMKR CPAs. I'm the auditor for the City of Bloomington as well as the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of the City of Bloomington. I'm here this evening to provide a audit presentation for this year. In my PowerPoint, if you continue to the next slide, whoever's helping me out here, thank you for that. You'll see that the role of the auditor is to provide an opinion on the financial statements of the HRA. It is a requirement in state law that the HRA have an annual financial statement prepared. It is prepared in conjunction with the city's financial statement. The city's financial statement is about 230 pages long, and part of that is the components of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, which is considered a component unit of the city. So as a result of that particular requirement, we're required to issue, you're required to issue a financial statement, and we are required to issue opinions on that financial statements that they were prepared in accordance with general accepted accounting standards. So the Office of the State Auditor in the state of Minnesota guides the other audit requirements as it relates to this, and that includes the testing of the HRA's internal controls, as well as your compliance with laws and regulations that relate to financial reporting. You know, we're really not auditing all of the controls, just those that relate to the financial reporting activities of the HRA. We're also required then to issue an opinion on your compliance with legal laws in the state of Minnesota that relate to the HRA. Those particular laws are guided by the Office of the State Auditor. Again, they give us a list of the laws that we test, and then we test for those compliance. And then lastly, we are required to complete what's called a single audit of federal awards if the HRA were to receive more than $750,000 of federal awards. And certainly that is the case for you. So we issue an opinion on the compliance with the various major programs that are audited as part of those particular grants. And then again, we also issue opinions on the internal controls as it relates to compliance with the various requirements that the federal government has for you with these programs. So on the next slide, you'll see the various opinions and the findings that were issued for this year. The financial report, as I mentioned, was we were able to issue what's classified as an unmodified opinion on that financial statements. An unmodified opinion is a clean opinion. It was the opinion you were looking for, so no concerns with regard to the financial reporting. The city does complete what's called a comprehensive annual financial report, and they do submit that for achievement in excellence, for excellence in financial reporting each year. So that's a very positive item for the city. As you see there, we did not have any findings to report in as it related to internal controls over the financial reporting or any of the laws and regulations that relate to that. We did have one finding as it relates to the Minnesota legal compliance audit that we completed, and it's related to collateral. The HRA is required to have collateral on the deposits that you have on file at local banks or all banks, frankly, to the tune of 110% of the balance of the bank deposits on hand at any time. The finding that were reported this year relates to the fact that certain deposits were on hand at a bank that exceeded those collateral requirements, as well as they exceeded the FDIC coverage, which is an automatic coverage of any local bank. That particular finding related from a contextual purpose, explaining it to you a little bit, the finding actually relates to when that account was set up and established. The intent was that those particular deposits were going to be put in the form of an investment. And typically an investment that was put in place would have been collateralized appropriately, just by definition of the rules and regulations around investments. The investment that was, or the deposit was then put into a bank deposit versus an investment deposit, thus causing the uncollateralized item. So you might ask yourself, well, what is the ramification? There are no ramifications to this particular finding. It is a requirement of the state auditor that you complete what's called a corrective action plan. The corrective action plan was submitted and prepared for this particular item. And as part of the written corrective action plan, you will note that the corrective action was completed as of roughly May of 2021. So in terms of action items, there are no action items today as it relates to this item, as it's already been corrected. So lastly, you'll see there were no findings in the single audit of federal awards, which is certainly commendable all the time, frankly, but this year, most notably, given the number and dollar amounts of new federal monies that the city as well as the HRA is getting due to the pandemic. And with those requirements, the amount of regulation that's coming out of the federal government and oversight is extensive. So the city and the HRA are doing an excellent job in that regard. So in my documents that you would find that were issued as part of this process, we do talk more about the responsibility of the auditor. The timing of the audit was complete with your acceptance this evening. All the documents will be into the Office of the State Auditor by June 30th, which is the deadline for submission. And then we do also provide what's called formal required communications, which really gives you an indication on how the audit went. Everything went very smoothly this year as part of the audit, and no issues or concerns by me. So in my PowerPoint, we also then talk about the next part of the audit, which is really the financial results. I'm not going to get into the financial results. If you go to the next one, you were on the right track there. You just go to one more slide. You pass that one. There you go. You'll see in my reports the information on the financial results. So the HRA's financial results this year in terms of the various governmental funds, the funds of the HRA, you can see the governmental funds increased roughly $1.6 million from one year to the next. Most of that was in restricted dollars, specifically for tax increment special revenue funds, which is more or less tax increment collections coming in that were not spent or used for development or debt service, which is where they're required to be spent. Certainly not a concern there at all, and really seeing positive financial results for the year. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we also reported on the HRA's enterprise funds, which is on the next slide, showing the financial results of those funds. These particular funds, the enterprise funds, includes the assisted rental fund as well as the property management fund, which is quite small. These particular funds did have a decline in overall fund balance for the year, or net position in this case, of $211,000. Most of that really is not really a concern, really just the result of the pandemic and some of the activities that happened in and around those particular items. So moving to the next slide, we do also provide a lot of information on legislative activity, accounting and auditing updates in my documents, and I'm not going to address those this evening. So my last slide does provide a quick summary of the audit results. As I mentioned, we were able to issue a clean opinion on the financial statements. It was the opinion you were looking for. Certainly, that's a positive. We did have the one finding to report on collateral. Certainly the city and the HRA accountants are well aware of the circumstances as well as the corrective actions that will be made to not only alleviate the finding, but also alleviate future findings of this situation. I mentioned the certificate of achievement and the improved financial position overall at the HRA. And lastly, I mentioned the positive nature of the audit, and really just wanted to give kudos to the staff at the city and the HRA for their audit results this year and their continuing assessment of importance of financial activities and the related controls that go around that particular item. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you might have for me on the audit results for the year.
Are there any questions for Mr. Eichten? I'm not hearing any. All right. Well, thank you for. Oh,
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Beloga.
I believe in most instances that we accept the audit report. So I would move to do so.
All right, but that was my next thing. I just wanted to thank Mr. Eichten for his report first. Yeah, very nice report. Thank you.
Sorry for being too far out front on that one.
That's okay. You're just moving stuff along. So I have a motion to approve and accept the 2020.
I would second that.
And okay, I have a motion to approve and accept the 2020 HRA audited financial statements and related information. Motion by Commissioner Beloga, second by Commissioner Thorson. Is there any discussion of this item?
Chair Lewis?
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. I just want to, I'm aware, observing people from audits in the past who are in Civic Plaza. And if Mr. Eichten could just give a rough idea of the number of people and approximate number of hours so that viewers are aware of how thorough this audit checking of how we do handle our money is. And that could be combined for city and HRA or just HRA.
Mr. Eichten?
So can you repeat the question again, the number of hours that goes into this particular audit?
However, you can talk hours if you'd like, but just to give an idea of maybe the number of people and time that you put in. It's very thorough,
right.
And I personally appreciate it because that's not the kind of thing I like to dig into.
Yes, so we have a staff of 4 individuals that work on this particular audit, excluding me, for about a 3-week period of time. They in total put about 1,000 hours into to auditing the city collectively, if you add up all of the man hours that go into it at varying levels. Some are done, some of those audits are done on site, some are done on site at the actual HRA offices and city offices, and some are done remotely as we did this year. But that gives you some sort of context as to how many hours we put into looking into various details.
Thank you. Brief but helpful answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there any other discussion before I call for a vote? Yes,
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hukim?
Thank you, Chair. Just one little recommendation in the future, possibly. I believe in these audits. I believe that we have a great firm working on this. As someone who has worked on audits before, I do know how intense they can be. But just a suggestion that could we maybe next year make sure that we put this towards the beginning of the month, because if there was any questions or concerns or issues, we're really pushing that deadline of 6:30, since it's like the 22nd right now, to get changes and then come back to the board. So just something to note for future, for next year.
Good. Yeah. Comment. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Hukim. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will now call for a vote on the motion to approve and accept the 2020 HRA audited financial statements and related information. Myra, can you take the roll call vote?
Commissioner Hukim,
Aye.
Commissioner Beloga.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Olson.
Aye.
Commissioner Thorson.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0 unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6.2, motion to approve a resolution. Let's see, this is 10071 Penn Avenue South request. May we have the staff report? Administrator Coleman?
Yes, I will share my screen. I have a brief presentation. All right. So this is a presentation about 10071 Penn Avenue South, as we have received TIF application, as well as requests to support the application for bond. So this has come before you before, and I just want to highlight, it has come before you before as 10041 Penn Avenue South, but the site has gone through, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the site has gone through entitlement, and so the address will be and is 10071 Penn Avenue South. So this is new construction of 68 units on the newly created parcel, which is not just 10071 Penn Avenue South. So it's 2.20 acre site, and it's infill and surplus land of Penn Place Apartments. And as I said, it is entitled, has gone through site entitlement. The developer is Boyclair, and Lori Boyclair actually is here this evening. It's 68 units, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, and it will be 100% affordable at or below 60% area median income. I have provided the proposed breakdown of unit count, as well as the AMI for each unit and the bedroom size. As you can see, this is really getting into the 30 and 50% area median income, and also providing larger size units at 2 and 3 bedrooms with more affordability. Just to note, there is a focus to provide some units for high priority homeless and Section 811, which is people with disabilities. Just to highlight some of the incentives and about the developments, will be proposed as a 4-story building with underground parking, on-site offices, workroom, on-site storage, bike storage, fitness room, community room, and tot lot. The OHO incentives that have previously been looked at to incorporate into this development would be parking stall reduction, enclosed parking space reduction, storage space reduction, density bonus, minimum unit size reduction, landscape fee in lieu reduction, development fee deferment, using project-based housing vouchers and tax increment financing is the request to help with the development. The total development cost right now is about 23.1 million, a little bit over 23.1 million. The public investment that is being requested is one, low-income housing tax credit, which is why we're here this evening, is to request support through resolution for that application to the state. Metropolitan Council Livable Communities Act, or LCA, that is for additional funding that helps with the development and also meeting the goals of the Met Council and our housing 2030 housing goals. They do align, which this project as proposed does. And then later on, after we hopefully have a successful application and award through the state bonds, HRA TIF request of up to 1.15 million, which is a $975,000 present value. We would come back for that. So, but I did just want to put that in there. And then private investment. These are high level, how this project would happen. And so the next steps would be with approval, the developer would be submitting the bond application by 7/15 with approval from this board tonight, as well as the application for Metropolitan Council Livable Communities Act funding. And so Lori Beauclair is here if you would like to hear anything from Lori, because she does a great job of talking about this project, and especially with all the experience she has of being a great partner in Bloomington in affordable housing development. But also I can take any questions, and there are two recommendations for motions on the screen. Commissioner Lewis, I think you're muted.
I will now open it up to the commissioners. Are there any questions for Ms. Beauclair or for Administrator Coleman? Silence.
Chair Lewis?
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Just a quick comment. Ms. Beauclair has presented to the Housing Coalition, Bloomington Housing Coalition, a couple years ago, and have had some other opportunities to observe some of the housing that she and her company have supported. And it's the word that comes to mind is a noble effort to truly help people who are in need of affordable help. So just want to throw that out there. Thanks.
Yeah, no, good comment. Are there any further questions or comments? Otherwise, I would be looking for two motions. The first one would be to adopt the resolution, first resolution, and then approve the support for and cooperation with the acknowledgement of receptivity of Met Council Livable Community Act funding application. Do I hear a motion?
Chair Lewis?
Commissioner Olson?
I move to adopt a resolution attached to the staff report supporting a tax credit application for proposed housing project at 10071 Penn Avenue South and authorize execution of related application documents.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Hukim seconds.
Thank you. So it has been moved by Commissioner Olson, seconded by Commissioner Hukim. And I won't read the entire motion again, but to adopt the resolution attached to the staff report. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will now call for a vote on the motion. Myra, will you take the roll call vote, please?
Beloga,
Aye.
Hukim,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. Now, to the second motion to approve support for and cooperation with the acknowledgement of receptivity of the Met Council Livable Communities Act funding application. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Olson.
Right. It has been moved by Commissioner Hukim, seconded by Commissioner Olson to approve support for and cooperation with the acknowledgement of receptivity of a Met Council Livable Communities Act funding application. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Myra, can you take the roll call vote, please?
Beloga,
Aye.
Hukim,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Second motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on now to item 6.3, amendments to development and loan agreements for Aon and the property located at 1930 East 86th Street, Blooming Meadows South. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. As stated previously, Aon VP Bloomington LLC has requested an extension to the revolving loan fund due to economic and pandemic impacts. Staff, including City Legal and Chief Finance Officer, as well as HRA Legal, have met and negotiated an extension to the repayment of the loan with costs included for extending. Staff is here, so our City CFO, Lori Economy Scholler, our HRA General Counsel, Carla Peterson, as well as Aon staff, CEO Alan Arthur, as well as Bill, is it Magoo? Sorry, and Sarah Harris are all here to answer questions. And I do believe that Aon may have a little bit that they wanted to offer first, if they would like to take that opportunity.
That would be great. So who would like to speak first?
I'll just
Mr.
go.
Arthur.
Yes,
Thank you.
Chairperson Lewis, commissioners and all. First of all, thank you for having us here tonight, and thank you for the tremendous partnership you've had with us in helping save 306 units at what was Village Club and is now Blooming Meadows South, which has also enabled us all to work hard to construct and create another 172 affordable apartments with Blooming Meadows North on the same site. Ultimately, as I've always said to folks as we've taken over some of these older properties, it's a 3 to 5 year journey to get them where they need to be, but we're on that journey, and we need just a little bit more time to fulfill some of the obligations that we all contemplated early. There's been a few changes in our environment, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the general operations or overall operations of Aon. And of course, I have our Executive Vice President of Strategy, Partnerships, and Production, Sarah Harris here, and Bill McGue, who heads our acquisitions team, to talk about any of the technical details about this. So look forward to engaging about how we move this forward in a productive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from Aon like to speak this evening? Okay. All right.
Okay. So Chair Lewis, I wanted to jump in real quick and just say what has happened, just to recap. So there is a payment due on July 15th to the HRA, according to the revolving loan fund agreement, of $3 million. In consultation with the HRA General Counsel, the City CFO, City Legal, the Community Development Director, and Aon, we have been able to advise or come up with or negotiate an agreement that would not put the HRA in hardship. And so that agreement is to split the payments, the payment of $3 million up into 4 payments to be paid between July 15th of 2021 and January 15th of 2023. So that would be the total of $3 million with an additional $70,000 for the cost to extend and interest.
Are there any questions for Administrator Coleman or for Mr. Arthur and the other people that are here from Aon? Commissioners?
Chair-
Yeah,
Chair
Commissioner Beloga.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll put it out there. I don't know who to address the question to, but I understand the schedule. It's in the information provided. Should tax credits become available or permanent financing established, does that accelerate the note? I have not seen that. And if not, why not?
So, Chair Lewis, Commissioner Beloga, no, we did not negotiate that should tax credits become available, that the payment be accelerated. Part of that was taken into consideration the obligations that the HRA has in terms of repaying the loan agreement with the city of Bloomington, but as well as allowing for that time as agreed to and not have to go back and change the agreement in terms of if there is a prepayment. Also, there is a need that the senior lender, because we are a junior lender, the senior lender will need to sign off on this agreement, and to make it less complicated in terms of what the terms are for the senior lender, the senior mortgage, excuse me, on this project, we were able to do it this way. I would say if Lori Economy Scholler or Carla Peterson have anything else to add, please chime in. Hearing none, Commissioner Beloga, does that answer your question?
It does. I still hold some reservations because I've read recently, which I forwarded to you, Commissioner Coleman, or I'm sorry, Erica, I've lost your title. Administrator, thank you. I could have made you president another minute here. But the HRA board has discussed numbers of times prior to your joining the city HRA and subsequent to that, the concerns about Aon's financial stability because of the aggressive acquisitions. And then to shortly after that have read that Aon is in discussions with City of Minneapolis and Hennepin County to build a $200 million+ project in downtown Minneapolis. Just heightens the anxiety that I personally have on this. So no response is necessary. It's just sharing the feelings that this commissioner has.
Thank you, Commissioner Beloga. Are there any comments or questions from the other commissioners?
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
as one who brought that issue up also last meeting, I do share those same anxieties about the financial situation with Aon and continued kind of aggressive acquisitions when We want to make sure that that the investment by City of Bloomington taxpayers is secure and paid off as as quickly as originally agreed upon. So I just, again, no comment necessary. I just share those concerns.
Mr. Arthur, would you like to respond to just some of the comments? I see you raising your hand.
Chair Lewis, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to try to talk about those. One of the important things to understand about affordable housing producers is we're like a hammer or a saw. Our capacity is very closely related to the capacity of the communities, the funders and lenders we work with. We have zero, I mean, we have some money in our bank account, obviously, and we're rated as an exemplary organization by a national organization that takes a look at us financially and operationally every 3 years. Happy to give you more information about that. We're solid financially. We have an extremely strong leadership team. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I, as CEO, has made the decision to transition out from Aon. We, as Commissioner Beloga and a few other people on this call know, the graveyards are full of indispensable men and women, and at some point we have to make the decision to pass the baton. And our organization is very strong in all ways, and but our capacity is directly related to the capacity of the community and the will of the community to fund projects. Each project that we do stands on its own separately from our organization. So organizationally, happy to provide any information. I think we have provided some to show that we're solid financially. Each project itself is independent. As a matter of fact, all of our funders and lenders, including your attorneys and others, require us to keep each of those projects independent financially and operationally, so that their, and in this case, your investment is safe and not mixed with others. It is true, we've been very aggressive in our acquisition strategies. We plan, actually our future plans project and expect that we will continue to be that, as long as communities like Bloomington walk with us hand in hand with that same concerted effort to solve the major problems we have with affordable housing. So I think we can satisfy any internal organization capacity issues you might, and concerns and anxiety you might have. Your anxiety is properly placed as to whether or not the community, and not Bloomington, you guys have gone outside, colored outside the lines. You've been as assertive as we have on this front. But I think your anxiousness is well placed about whether or not the rest of our community is only talking the game and not engaging in doing what needs to happen. Because I have serious reservations about what the rest of the community and some of our major institutions are not doing on this front and need to come to the table in more depth and breadth. So happy to answer that more specifically, and also happy to answer any specific questions you have about our organizational leadership, financial capacity, et cetera. But we don't put our money in these deals. These things happen from the community. We have enough money to make sure that lenders will lend to us and funders will invest in us, but that's about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Are there any questions from Mr. Arthur?
Chair Lewis?
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur, appreciate what you have indicated. Moving that into a question, are those kinds of information, like you mentioned, national review every 3 years and the status that you have, we as the city talk about our rating with the bond companies, I guess it is, or whatever.
Yep.
And that we realize you sound that way, and my observation has been that, and we as a city, we are concerned that we are staying solvent and still moving forward.
Yep.
And I would just close with the question is there on the table, but I would also close with indicating that I, for one, appreciate your willingness to move rapidly. Getting Village Club was a very short hair-raising kind of thing, and I think it's generally understood that we beat out the biggies nationally who would have been drooling to buy it and not use it the way that you are, you as Ann is. So to the question, is the city accessing the kind of information you just indicated? Maybe
Well,
it's the wrong person to ask.
mhm.
So yes, that's audited financials that actually is public information when it comes to a nonprofit such as Aon is. But yes, the city is able to request and review audited financials. However, the parent company is not who we have an contract with. It is with the subsidiary, Aon VP Bloomington LLC.
Commissioner Olson, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments before I ask for a motion? Again, I can't see everybody, so just let me hear your voice. I'm getting really good recognizing voices. Hearing no voices, do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution approving First Amendment to amended and restated development agreement and Second Amendment to loan agreement and authorization to execute all related documents between Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington and Aon VP Bloomington LLC for Blooming Meadows South Housing Development?
Chair Lewis, Commissioner Olson.
Yes. Commissioner Olson?
I move the adoption of the resolution as you stated it and is on the screen.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second? Did I hear a voice? Is that Commissioner Hukim? I'm not,
No, that wasn't me.
okay. Is there a second to Commissioner Olson's motion? So we have no second.
Madam
Chair
Chair.
Lewis,
Yes.
Erica,
Commis-
Administrator Coleman, I would
Yes.
just like to pose a question to the commissioners of what is the desire here
Yes.
with if there's not going to be an approved motion, what is the desire here by the commissioners for this project and or development and loan agreement? Because I will state that without any motion this evening, we will be looking to come back as directed by the commissioners, but we also will be looking at a complete default on our agreement with Aon VP Bloomington LLC, and we are a junior lien holder to the senior mortgage. So I would like to ask the commissioners, what is the...
Yes, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners because that is very, I mean, that's very serious. What I'm hearing is extremely serious if we don't vote on this. Yes, Commissioner Hukim.
Thank you, Chair. I guess for me, I'd like to hear a little bit from staff, from, our financial staff on kind of where they sit, where their opinions are, why they feel confident bringing this forward. I guess that's what I'd like to hear, is just kind of from our financial team of why they feel comfortable, just because there is a lot of anxiety around this issue. Thank you.
All right. Administrator Coleman I don't see that we have anyone available this evening.
Oh, we have the
oh, we
city
do we?
financial officer, Miss
Oh,
Lori
right,
Economy
yeah.
Scholler.
Here again, I can't see all the faces, but thank goodness she's there. would you care to speak?
Sure, Chair Lewis. When we look at each of these affordable housing projects, there's a lot of financial resources that need to come in and get layered into each of these deals. And they need the tax increment, they need all the different pieces. And there is a higher risk. I know our council has wanted us to be more bold and innovative, and with these deals, there is more risk. We've looked at all the different ways, and Commissioner Beloga might recall, and Administrator Coleman now knows what belt and suspenders mean to the city, where where we try to put as many risk mitigators that we can into a project. And in this particular one, we've issued the debt at the city level. We've brought in, and then we pass it through to the HRA, and then HRA has the process with Aon. We've put these layers in there, and we also have, as part of this particular structure, $500,000 of the HRA's tax levy as a stopgap as part of some of these issues. But because we were able to restructure the $3 million, I think we're more on the comfortable side right now, knowing that this is much more affordable for them to make these payments, and it makes all the payments from the HRA to the city to Old National. So the debt is preserved, and all the pieces from the city to the bank on the debt side is covered. There's just more risk on affordable housing projects. So at this point, we are just aware of the risk. We're okay with where we have this structured, and it is part of the recommendation of staff to move forward.
Chair Lewis.
Chair, you're muted.
Yes, Commissioner Thorson.
Just for the record, I'm wondering, the payment is due shortly, and the $3 million is now going to be paid out in increments until 2023. Can you tell me why a more aggressive schedule for repayment on that $3 million could not have been achieved? In other words, how did you arrive at last payment for a payment due in July as being made in 2023? And is that the best we could do?
Chair Lewis and Commissioner Thorson, we looked at all the different structures, and we had the conversation with Alan Arthur and his staff in regards to what they could make in regards to payments. COVID hit them hard, and hopefully with the period of time, if they want to prepay any of those payments when they get sufficient funding, they can do that without any sort of penalty. So we structured this as much as possible to make sure that the debt service to Old National was covered and that they could meet these payments. So if they can accelerate it, we would be more than happy to take their monies as fast as they can earn them. There's no penalties for that. But this is what they, and we could meet our debt service, and they could afford.
Okay. Commissioner Thorson, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for either Ms. Economy Scholler or Ms. Coleman, Administrator Coleman?
Chair Lewis.
Yes, Commissioner Hukim.
Thank you. I just want to state that I do have the anxiety, but I also want to state that I do support this project. And so that's where I've been, in turmoil, because of course, you know, money is important and it gets nerve wracking when we're dealing with this amount of money. But I also don't want this to, how do I say this? I don't want it to be a negative for projects in the future as well. Like, I don't want this to deter other developers and things like that to say the city, you know, we have been in a pandemic. We have to look at that. There's been the rent situation across the board. This isn't the only property dealing with this. So I can't judge them for that. So I want to say I thank staff for the explanation and their support. It does put me at ease. And I just want to state that I would support this. I would second this motion if,
Thank you.
you know, going forward. So
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to echo Commissioner Hukim's comments. I think we have to remember COVID. It affected everything, and the thought of defaulting on a development that I think is so worthwhile. I just think it would send the wrong message again to future developers who might come forward. So I would support it, and I understand the concern. I have that as well, but so I now have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Olson and a second by Commissioner Hukim. Again, I will throw this open for discussion before we vote. Are there further discussion? I'm hearing no voices. So it has been moved and seconded. Okay, I will now call for a vote on the motion to adopt the resolution approving the First Amendment to the amended and restated development agreement and Second Amendment to loan agreement and authorization to execute all related documents between Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington and Aon VP Bloomington LLC for Blooming Meadows South Housing Development. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Beloga,
Aye.
Hughiem,
aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on then to
Chair Lewis,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Sarah Harris. I just want to express gratitude on behalf of Aon, not just for the vote you've just taken, but I have to tell you how reassuring it's been to listen to the entirety of this meeting and the support you have for all different forms of affordable housing and the community members in Bloomington. So I want to thank you broadly, not just for the vote you've just taken.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that comment. Thank you, and thank you, Aon, for being here tonight and being available for questions. Excuse me, I have a frog and it's not going away. But thank you again. And I will now move on to item 6.4, which is the annual housing report. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Lewis. Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. This is really just the final product. You had received a housing report presentation a while back from Mike Palermo and updates of the contents of the annual report. And this is just the final product that I wanted to make sure you were able to see of how it came together with the work that staff has done. So Brian Hartman, Mike Palermo, Sherry Shoquist, actually before she transitioned. And then our the Bloomington communication staff is who actually put this together. So I just wanted to bring it forward so you could see it and look at it, and it will be on our city webpage. And it's the webpage is getting updated. So there is a link provided because otherwise it's a little bit hard to find as the city is updating its web pages. So this was just information.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you.
Chair Lewis?
Yes, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. I just want to say I printed out, I had to do it a second time, so you heard it, but I printed out pages, I think 55 through whatever, 58. I think that's, you're showing some of the pages now. I think that's something, well, I'm going to be putting that in my file and taking a look at periodically. I think it's valuable information and I appreciate staff putting it together. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Yes, I did the same thing. I printed most of it out and I'm putting it in my file. So thank you very much for that, Administrator Coleman. Moving on to our final item, and that is 7.2 Commissioner Questions and Answers. Is there anything that
Actually, Chair Lewis, there's one item right before that.
Oh.
Discussion.
No.
Item 7. Do you have that?
Oh, yes, 7.2.
7.1.
Oh, yes, the rehab loan. I am very sorry. Item 7.1, rehab loan program update. Excuse me for skipping right over that. I've got it right in front of me. So may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. I just wanted to provide an update that there is a temporary hold on new applications, only new applications for the home improvement loan program. So that includes CDBG and neighborhood program, which in part does use strategic priority funds funding that was received from the City Council. CDBG, obviously, as I mentioned before, which is a federal allocation, and then repayments to produce the rehab loans. This is a temporary pause to just conduct a comprehensive and coordinated review, and assessment and update the policies, procedures, and process. HRA will engage and include the city legal and finance because of the CDBG funding that is used for part of the programs. So this goes to the 2021 approved work plan, which is operational efficiency. And so this just falls under operational efficiency and just a temporary hold, a temporary pause on the new applications for the program. There are still households and clients moving through the process. So there are still people getting work done. There are still people that are paying off loans. There are still people that are coordinating with staff. So it's not all work has stopped. It's just new applications at this temporary time. Are there any questions?
Chair Lewis.
Yes, Commissioner Thorson.
So can you be more specific about the operational issues that have caused a pause in new applications? Are you expecting any policy changes in terms of the programs themselves, or discussing any of those at a staff level?
Yes.
Or is this simply for operational efficiencies?
So it's both and. So thank you, Chair Lewis and Commissioner Thorson, for the question. It is both and. So there are conversations at the staff level in terms of operational efficiency. So there's not issues, operational efficiency to look at how we are doing the work, how we are communicating to the public. How is the public able to understand and access the programs, do the application and the whole process? And so, yes, there will be staff level conversations, but it is suspected to have update to the program, the policy of the program, and that would need to come back before the HRA board. So it's not just a staff level conversation, it would be staff and HRA board engagement and conversation and approval.
Administrator Coleman, I have one just quick question. How long do you anticipate that this hold will be on for, new participants?
Yep. So I have not actually provided a time frame, but my anticipation and my hope is by early fall at the latest.
The latest. All right. Thank
Yes.
you. Are there any other questions for Administrator Coleman?
I'm not quite sure if I fully answered Commissioner
Okay.
Thorson's question.
I'm not seeing or hearing any other questions at this point. And I know this was just for discussion, but you will be bringing back any changes, or that any changes to any of the programs you would be bringing back to the board.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I do have to, one last thing. It's not the rehab loan program. It's actually the maintenance contract for the 41 properties that the HRA owns. There are 41 single family scattered site properties. There is a need to come back at the future meeting to request an interim maintenance contract. So during operational efficiency transitioning from the current maintenance contract, we will need to request approval to enter into an interim maintenance contract for the 41 single family scattered site properties that the HRA owns, and do that while issuing a new RFP process. So that will be at a future meeting.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Commissioner
Lewis?
Beloga?
Thank you.
Commissioner Beloga?
So my question is that if people have made applications, are we going to continue with those applications, or will they be caught up in this temporary hold? And the
Thank you,
reason
Chair.
I ask is there is a problem with how long the estimates are valid for that accompanies the application. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Lewis. Commissioner Beloga, to answer your question, anyone that has made application and gotten the estimates has moved forward. That was discussed with staff. Staff did bring that up. And so people that have gotten the estimates and gone through that process, we are not holding their application. So this is only for literally brand new applications. Brand new applications that have not been approved yet and have gone through that process of getting the estimates and bids.
All right. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Beloga?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Any questions for Administrator Coleman? Okay. Well, as this was just a discussion item, thank you, Administrator Coleman, for giving us that information. It will be interesting to see what changes are made, if any. So, all right. And now I can actually get to item 7.2. Sorry about missing 7.1. This is just the questions and answers for any of the commissioners. Is there anything the commissioners would like to ask or bring up? Any concerns for future meetings? Well, we're a nice quiet group this evening. Commissioner Hukim.
Thank you. And I don't know, this isn't like a big deal. It's just something that's been on my mind is our meeting time. At 5:30, I feel like that is hard for a lot of the general public. I guess for me, I just like to know kind of what, I haven't paid attention to what the starting times of other commissions are. But if we kind of could get an idea of what their starting times are. I just feel that for people who work till like 5, it does make it a little bit hard for our community to maybe attend, especially as we go back in person. Just kind of some concerns that I've heard and things like that. So just something to think about. Thank you.
I know with, yes, Commissioner or Administrator Coleman.
Sorry about that, Chair Lewis. I was just going to say that I know that starting times are between 5:30 and 6 p.m.
Yes.
There is another shorter commission, and what I mean by shorter is that they're not like a chartered board or anything, that starts at 4:30. But usually 5:30 and or 6 p.m. is the times that I have at least seen for the Port Authority, the Planning Commission, and the Human Rights Commission. And as you know, the City Council starts at 6 p.m.
Right. And this is Chair Lewis. It's been a few years since I've been on the Planning Commission, but we were 5:30. And yeah, and I will say I was coming from downtown and sometimes it was a little hard, but that was 5:30 was like the regular time. So but good comment, and it would be interesting to see if any other commissions have, brought up the same concern that, it's early. But Administrator Coleman, if you find out anything different, you could, please let us know.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lewis. I guess I can just look into it. But I'm really don't want to misspeak here, but I'm almost positive we could set and notice the time. Just how the city council changed time that it was starting. I think that is something that we may have the flexibility to do. We are not a city chartered commission. We are a separate entity with a board. So I do believe that is something we probably have more flexibility in changing if need be.
And I will just throw it out to the commissioners. Would anyone be interested in discussing or thinking about maybe going to 6 o'clock? Or a different time? I mean, I'm just throwing that out. This is the discussion time right now, but I feel like we might have that flexibility to go at least a half hour later, but I would want to know what other commissioners thought.
Chair Lewis,
Yes.
this is Myra Wickless. Just letting you know that to change the time, you will have to make an amendment to the bylaws because the starting time is stated in the bylaws, just so everyone knows that.
Okay. All right. Then I would just ask commissioners if there's something we want to look into further, or just because it is already in the bylaws, to stay with 5:30, since that seems to be pretty across the boards with other commissions. Any comment?
Chair Lewis, this is
Yes.
Commissioner Thorson.
Commissioner Thorson?
I would just, as for myself, and only speaking for myself, I think 5:30 is an appropriate time to not only have a meeting that is publicly accessible, but also so it doesn't run too long. So whether it's our commissioners who have family and children, or whether it's the general public that needs to get on to school, helping with homework and so on. I think it's a pretty good compromise. There's never an ideal time for everyone, but I would just voice that I am personally happy with the 5:30 time. Okay. And it is sometimes a challenge to get here and get started, that's for sure.
All right. Okay. Any other comments? I guess I'm comfortable with 5:30. I'm having to go back and amend the bylaws again. I would be comfortable staying with 5:30.
Madam
yes,
Chair,
Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. One of the things I'm wondering about during this conversation is with COVID and going to virtual meetings. Have we talked recently? I read it somewhere that we are. Well, the governor's order is I think the thing that brings it to the attention. But are we talking about continuing to have or expanding our use of public television coverage of this?
Administrator Coleman.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Commissioner Olson, those are conversations right now, is to find out if that is an ability for us to do and maintain. Reason being is I think it's great. Like you stated, I think it's great to have that opportunity for public to be able to plug in and access information that previously we were not televised. So I think that's really great. And I would like to see about continuing that. But in that same vein, looking at the capacity, the staff capacity it's going to be needed, in particular IT. I think it's beyond the capacity of the HRA staff currently. And as Myra does an amazing job, we cannot expect her to do all the things at one time. So that's what that would be, and it's just not possible. So that's where that conversation is happening, because we do have to look at IT, the use of IT, and what does that mean, and the capabilities of the rooms that we have reserved. Council chambers is not exactly up for question the same way a conference room is, in terms of the ability. So we're looking into that, and also just looking at, is that going to cost the HRA anything additional? But it's a conversation, so I plan on following back up with that. I thank you for the question. Brian Hartman and I actually talked about it earlier, so thank you.
Thank you,
Chair
Administrator.
Lewis,
Yes,
just a
Commissioner.
quick follow-up comment. I'm not sure if the discussion, thanks for reminding me of our previous conversations about this as a board. One of the things I don't recall if we've talked about, but would there be an opportunity, like with the city council, that has a public comment period? Would there be opportunities technologically and all that kind of stuff for people to do that from home as well? Is that something that can be looked at, I should say?
Yes, thank you, Chair Lewis. Commissioner Olson, that is a part of the conversation, which is one of the main things driving it, is to be able to make sure that even though as commissioners, as a board, we must return in person, that the capability for the public to plug in virtually is available. So that is a part of driving that conversation, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Coleman. And thank you, Commissioner Hooking, for just, starting this conversation. It was a good comment. Are there any other comments or questions from the commissioners this evening? Hearing none, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second by Thorson.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Beloga, seconded by Commissioner Thorson, that we adjourn for the evening. May we have the roll call vote, please, Myra?
Beloga.
Aye.
Hukim.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Motion was passed 5-0. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Myra
Yes.
and Erica, I have a quick question off the record.
Okay, hang on one moment. Let me.
Yeah. Just for the two of you.
Okay, well,
Just a moment. I'm
going to say goodnight then, since you're going to be talking. See you next meeting.
trying to get it to stop. Hang on a minute. The recording keeps. Every time someone hangs up, it pops back up. Let me try stopping sharing here. That might help.